What is up guys, Wraec is here with a new video, and today another video on Forest SL. Well, we did recently the video on Forest SL30 and I cleared that with my A-tier Ferrocene Vesa, and in the end of that video I talked about the likelihood of Forest SL29 being cleared in the near future by people without an A-tier hero. And I said like, yeah, might take a few weeks or some weeks. And then I could imagine people doing that and really clearing Forest SL29 without an A-tier Vesa. And of course I had to be proven wrong. And the next day, actually, my guildmate Blub cleared Forest SL29 without an A-tier Vesa and posted that, and I was stunned actually, because I didn't think it was possible at that time. Wouldn't have considered it possible at that time, but he proved me wrong. And also he said didn't even take a lot of attempts. So that's quite something actually. And I was very much impressed by it, and I thought maybe more people can do it, and especially the stronger guys around you. You guys might be able to clear Forest SL29. So I thought I would share this clear. One thing I have to say though, the video in the background isn't actually Blub's clear. You might have already seen there is an A-tier Vesa there. This is actually the footage from the stream of my SL29 clear. Blub didn't actually record his clear, so I thought like, having no gameplay in the video, I do that quite often, but did seem a little bit dull, so I just took the footage from my stream of my SL29 clear, put it in the background, and it's at least the same damage numbers. You will have to deal about the same damage to the stages to clear them, so it gives you a little bit of an idea. In general, the first stage is rather problematic in Forest SL, the third and the fourth. The second one is really easy, and the third one is arguably easier than the first one. The first one, those little guys you see on the screen, the last of them, actually, having four of them is really annoying, and they deal so much damage to your back row. The front row is always a little bit safe. We talked about that also in the SL30 video. In the case that you are clearing SL29, of course, without an A-tier hero, your damage dealing potential is a lot lower than it is with an A-tier hero, of course, meaning you might need a few more rounds. Blub said, though, that he also had to clear the boss very early on, and if he didn't, he died. So that's something to keep in mind here. Again, better panda copies always help. Better panda copies give you more HP, and maybe it is also an option for you to split up some materials to your pandas, especially, and the Olivia in the back row especially. Because if you can do that, and if you can split up the material on the Mystic Fairy Freya, this can actually help you survive turn 1 if you have problems with that. Blub, on the other hand, split his materials between Ferrocene Vesa and MFF, with most of the mats on Vesa. Vesa actually had a maxed home in his clear. We will actually look over some screenshots he sent me and the setup I used, which was the same that he used, in a few seconds, and we'll discuss that then. His account is pretty strong, I have to say, though. So it's not like this is the easy, free-to-play, cheap clear. It's still a pretty whaley thing to do, actually, just not as well whaley as it used to be with an A-tier hero, of course. So, having a look now at the screenshots that he sent me and that we have for this clear, we can already see it's a similar lineup that I used. In the damage screen, this becomes more prevalent. You can see it's a B-tier Vesa, so not a bad copy. We have Tree of Origins 4 on her, so also very highly upgraded, and he told me he had the full sublimation for the active skill and the 3 small nodes behind it, and for the basic skill and the 3 small nodes behind it, which we discussed in length in the SL30 video. Helps a lot, gives your heroes armor and stuff. If you want more info on that, check out my SL30 clear. That's a pretty long video and we talked about everything there. The Panda copies are pretty average. We have a C+, a C-, nothing too impressive. And the Olivia copies are arguably pretty bad, D and D+. That's really not very impressive. What is impressive though, that those were actually able to survive in the back row. Quite insane. If you of course have B tier pandas and B tier Olivia, you will have way more HP and way less problems. So if that's something you own, you might even need less star spawns or other sources of HP than he had. So he also used MFF of course and used the same lineup that I used. So I thought we would look at my screenshot of the setup again. I thought I put it in the video, so maybe if you want to copy it, you can just take a screenshot and have all the enables and everything available with one look at it. Of course, that's my A-tier Vesa, not the heroes that he used. Split gear on the supporter, the same that we did, and the enables also in the same way that we used them. Imprints being DR, crit chance, crit damage. If your MFF tends to die in the back row, you can use armor on her as well. You can do something like DR armor crit chance, for example, which is quite alright, or even DR armor block. But the extra damage from her can help, and if you can have this Mystic Fairy Freya faster than your Ferric Vesa, this is quite hard if you have her upgraded to Tree of Origins 4, by the way. But if you can have her faster and then you can use Snake Pet for additional damage, might save you some resources as well, and is definitely worth a try if you encounter any problems. The back row, of course, especially those three supporters, need some really decent HP, and you should definitely try to use some resident stats on them, give them a little bit of CI. Can help a lot if you notice them dying too early. And the Vesa core on the first stage already gives you a shield, gives you some removed debuffs and extra effective HP, so having that will also greatly help you. And it's also a decent core for later, not as really to use them, but to acquire core liberation, so having one of them definitely doesn't hurt you. I was also surprised on the Olivia stats. He sent me this. 69 million on the first Olivia and 70 million on the C- Panda. We can of course imagine, as he had an C+ Panda as well, that this one would be a bit higher. The D Olivia is actually the back row Olivia, so that survived on 69 million HP, which is mainly possible, I would think, through MFF taking a lot of hits. If your MFF and your pandas take a lot of hits, then the Olivia and the back row is mostly safe. But those are around the values you should aim for. Another thing, of course, being his star spawns, you can see they are pretty much maxed, and this is something that helps as well. You can use the block from the Fortress Pet, crit damage reduction from the Warrior Pet actually doesn't help you. Those enemies don't crit, so the Fortress Pet is actually more effective HP than the Warrior Pet. The Warrior Pet is still pretty decent though, because Xiaos are warriors, so you get 50% more HP for them. Just the crit damage reduction buff is worthless for Forest SL, so that's nothing you're really searching for. Those two HP pets, the Priest and the Forest one, are of course great. Having those will help a lot, and all the attack pets basically for extra damage, especially the Armor Break one is quite nice, and the Whale is also very, very good. So those are the ones to look out for. But you can see it's still something of a whaley effort to get through the SL29 without an AT hero, so you will still need a decent chunk of resources for that. Then we have a look at his galleries. The equipment gallery is maxed. The artifact gallery is not maxed, it's pretty close to it, 28 artifacts, splendid at the moment. So quite a decent chunk that on buffs that he has there, but it's not the max amount, so maybe a bit achievable. Then we have the skin gallery, level 98, 46 legendary skins with a 6.7 million HP buff. Quite a decent skin gallery, but also, of course, far from maxed. But Also 6.7 million is a lot of HP and will definitely help the back row survive. And then we have the avatar gallery with level 24 and another 2.1 million HP. So we have already like 8 million fixed HP from the galleries alone. Quite a decent chunk at that. Then I asked him for the residence stats. He sent me those screenshots. They didn't have the Vesser and the MFF in there anymore, but he said the levels were the same, so you can have an idea. They had 105 on this, and this was the home for the Vesser, and the other one, this one, was the home for the Mystic Fairy Freya. So we had 45, 55, 47, 70 here. Also quite a lot of stats. Maybe you can take some of those off, put them on the pandas if you encounter problems. Should be quite easily possible. If you have a similar lineup, maybe take something from slot 1 or so. I wouldn't quite take the stats of the Transcendence slots if you want to divert resources to the pandas. Take slot 1 or slot 3. Mystic Fairy Freya can profit quite a lot from those Transcendence slots, as you have Transcendence heroes to go in there, which isn't the case with the pandas. But yeah, guys. That's about it. I hope you can copy this strategy. I was quite impressed with it. Big shout out to Blub, of course, for definitely surprising me with that. And if you guys have any questions, write them down in the comments. And on another note, if you've made it till here, I will announce a live stream tomorrow. We will do a live stream on Friday again, going into the new event, doing some profit ops, and we will experiment with Sealand Abyss. Having a look at how far an A-tier Hellora can actually make it there. And we will see how far we can go. There isn't a lot of info on that, so it should be quite interesting. You can see me a little bit experimenting, and I hope I see a lot of you guys there. And with that, I wish you a great week, and we will see us in the next one.